calm, clear morning in 1973, a 6,000-year silence was shattered by the terrifying roar of a long-dormant volcano. This small, peaceful fishing village off the coast of Iceland was wiped out. The sudden, terrible violence of a major volcanic eruption is almost beyond belief. When Mount Vesuvius erupted in 1944, the world watched in awe as entire villages crumbled and fell before the advancing lava. That was not the first time Vesuvius destroyed a city, and it may well not be the last. In 79 AD, the city of Pompeii was buried under 15 feet of ash. Some residents of Pompeii, their forms cast in plaster from the cavities their bodies left in the volcanic ash, lie where they fell 20 centuries ago. They paid the ultimate price for living in the shadow of a volcano. Hello, I'm David Hedison. Welcome to Brittanica Film's phenomenal world. Volcano. The word comes from the name of the god Vulcan, the god of fire, the workman of the immortal beings who ruled Mount Olympus. Vulcan, the blacksmith of the gods. Vulcan, who made their tools and weapons. It was said that his forge was deep beneath the earth, and sometime when its fire and flames broke through, a volcanic eruption was the result. Perhaps it is not surprising that for those who lived 2,000 years ago, the act of a god was the only way to explain the staggering spectacle that is the violence of an exploding volcano. Today, science can explain much of what legend could not. What makes a volcano explode? When will it explode? What are its after effects? But there are things that need no explanation. The hellish beauty, the terror, the awesome power that springs from the heart of our planet when a volcano erupts. Join us as we witness two of the most spectacular volcanic events of the past few years. Join us and experience the fire and fury that strike when the earth explodes. It is the spring of 1980. Crowds of scientists have gathered to take the pulse of an awakening volcano in Washington State, Mount St. Helens. They measure the deep underground rumblings and the earthquakes that are racking her frame. They set up instruments to monitor the eruption they believe is coming.
845.
They observe the clouds of steam, gas, and ash pouring from her summit. And on Sunday, May 18th at 8:32 a.m., some of them die. For at that moment, without warning, the north flank of the volcano simply blew out in a shattering explosion heard up to 300 miles away.
The whole sky was just billowing and just puffing out with smoke, and it had me nervous, I ain't kidding you.
A massive cloud of superheated gas and debris roared down the mountainside at 200 miles an hour. A cloud of awesome, destructive power.
It is ominous, and it's right there, and we came to a screeching halt, turned the Jeep around, and we drove away at like 85 miles an hour with this gaseous ball just almost engulfing us.
Did you smell it?
Couldn't smell it, couldn't hear it, could see it.
In seconds, the scalding gases melted centuries-old glaciers. Boiling hot water scoured the hillsides, uprooting entire forests. An hour after the blast, a raging wall of water, logs and liquefied soil, at times 25 feet high, roared down the South Toutle River, sweeping away everything in its path. The wall slammed into the valleys below, catching residents almost totally by surprise. In a matter of seconds, thousands of people saw their lives torn apart by the torrent as hundreds of homes were swept off their foundations and smashed to pieces. As for the mountain, its majestic crest was gone, and a gaping horseshoe-shaped crater stood in its place. Before the eruption, Mount St. Helens was 9,700 feet high. After, 8,400. 1,300 feet of the mountain had been vaporized and turned into millions of tons of choking, powdery ash. Over 200 square miles of forest, uncounted wildlife, and 65 human beings were destroyed. Mount St. Helens gave scientists a unique opportunity to study the death of a mountain. But a decade before Mount St. Helens erupted, the men and women of the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory were given an equally rare chance to study the birth of a mountain. When one of the world's most active volcanoes, Kilauea, began a series of eruptions that would change the face of Hawaii forever. Seismographs showed that huge masses of magma, molten rock from the Earth's interior, were moving inside the mountain. But where, when, and how much of it would find its way to the surface, they did not know. Then they watched in awe as a gigantic river of lava suddenly gushed out of the smoke and steam. A huge vent had opened on the east flank of Kilauea, some 5 miles from the mountain summit. Day after day, scientists walked up to the face of the red-hot flow to scoop out samples for laboratory study. Other scientists collected samples of the volcano's breath, placing metal tubing into a small fissure to gather some of the escaping gases. It was not always an easy task. Millions of tons of lava ebbed and flowed from the vent. And although no one knew it at the time, these eruptions would continue for 5 full years. The fiery vent would acquire a name, an identity of its own. It would be called Mauna Ulu, the growing mountain. In choking heat and gas, geologists continue their dangerous work, closely studying the eruption. They witnessed many strange phenomena, including lava roaring out of the main vent, flowing down to a lower vent, and feeding back into the mountain. It was as if the volcano was recycling and reusing the molten rock.
Putting on quite a show.
This is how Hawaii, indeed, how much of our planet was created. This is our world, giving birth to a mountain. Now, a gigantic river of lava surged across the face of the mountain, burying and changing its features forever. The lava fountain exploding from the vent soared 1,800 feet into the sky, a fountain taller than the Empire State Building, constantly showering the ground below with a rain of flame. Scientists in the field studied portable seismographs, locating earthquakes, trying to get some idea of where the gigantic masses of magma were moving. The eruption continued, and there was more, much more to come. The first searching fingers of the lava flow soon reached Alai Crater near the volcano's main vent. A cascade of fire, twice as high as Niagara Falls and 3 times as wide, roared into the crater at a speed of some 40 miles an hour, filling it to the brim. Alai Crater would soon cease to exist. The temperature of the lava flow reached 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit, and the heat generated firestorms, tornadoes that whipped across the face of the river, spraying lava in every direction. We'll experience the incredible battle of the elements that was joined when the lava met the sea. Every dawn saw not only a new day, but a new landscape. Often, it was a landscape that might have been on a different planet. What had been forests and lush green fields were now barren, black, devastated fields of cooling lava stretching in every direction. Access to the vent was now more difficult, for the lava flow had cut the roads in a dozen different places. To keep track of the continuing eruptions, the scientists took to the air. For the most part, the eruptions did not threaten the island's inhabitants, or the thousands of visitors who came to experience the terrible beauty of the unpredictable volcano. But at one point, all that changed. A violent eruption suddenly became extremely violent, and an immediate evacuation of the area was ordered. Volcanic activity continued to build. Fumaroles poured hot gases into the air, gases that carried tiny particles of minerals, especially sulfur. The mountain took on a new color as the gases cooled in the air, depositing the sulfur along the walls of the vent. Sometimes with staggering speed, sometimes at a snail's pace, the lava flow crept over the mountain, farther and farther from the main vent. 5 miles, 10, crawling closer and closer to its collision with the sea. Nothing could stand in its way. These petroglyphs, carved perhaps hundreds of years ago by some of the earliest Hawaiians, vanished forever under the river of fire. The works of modern man fared no better. Then, once again, a violent eruption sent a torrent of lava racing across the land. Once again, blackened stumps would stand where living trees had grown the day before. Three years after it began, Mauna Ulu had radically changed the face of the land, and still, the eruption continued. The lava was now mostly traveling underground through lava tubes. Skylights in the tube ceilings gave scientists a unique opportunity to take the temperature of the fiery river. It measured an incredible 2,100 degrees Fahrenheit. As the lava flowed through the tubes, the tops of the streams cooled, forming a crust. When it hardened, it covered and insulated the stream, allowing the lava to travel a greater distance before it cooled and solidified. To measure the speed of the flow, 2 men in radio contact are stationed at different points along one tube.
Start your watch. Now.
A stick thrown into the lava instantly bursts into flame and drifts downstream. The time the stick takes to drift between the men will give them the speed of the flow. Finally, the lava reached the sea. And once again, Mauna Ulu gave us a rare look at the furious forces that shaped and are still shaping our planet. The lava battles the waves, and for the moment at least, the ocean loses the battle. The lava pours in faster than it can be washed away, and slowly the coastline pushes seaward. The contest went on, not only on the surface, but underwater as well. At great personal risk, divers went below to capture the sound and fury of an underwater lava flow. They filmed and collected samples of this strange and terrible fire under the sea. Meanwhile, just beyond the edge of the lava flow, as though nothing unusual was happening, life in the sea went on. Gigantic amounts of energy were released in this head-on collision of fire and water, and spectacular clouds of steam filled the Hawaiian sky. In Hawaii, a mountain is born. In Washington, a mountain dies. Mount St. Helens and Mauna Ulu are separate, but closely related events. They are both part of the never-ending cycle by which our planet is altered and renewed. The damage done to the area around Mount St. Helens may look irreparable, but it is not. The forests have returned to cover the blackened, scorched earth around Mauna Ulu, and they will return here as well. The birds and wildlife will come back, and the fields of gray ash will once more be lush and green in time. Mauna Ulu is silent today. It may remain so forever. Or it could become active again tomorrow. We live on a planet that is still a dynamic, changing world. Often, that change is sudden, violent, and deadly. A volcano is at once an act of destruction and creation. It is one of many signs that our world is vital and alive. And it is one of the most spectacular natural phenomena on the face of the earth.